Good morning. Thanks for tuning into
Education Nation.
I'm Haley.
And I'm Peter.
Today we will be discussing equal opportunity in education.
Today in classrooms, inclusion has still failed to work.
We talked to the public to see what inclusion was like in their schools and how it affected them.
Check this out.
How racially diverse was your high school?
It wasn't necessarily divided. I was one of the only minorities.
I want to say a really high percentage
So
was white.
majority?
Yes.
I think I had like 2 black kids that were from my town that went to my school. We had like 2 Asian kids.
We didn't have much diversity. It was predominantly white.
Why do you believe it was that way?
I grew up in the suburbs. Like, it's mostly white kids around here.
We're not like rich, but we're like
It's-
upper middle class.
So because of money,
It's definitely money.
Were students with disabilities incorporated in general education classrooms, or were they secluded into special education classrooms?
My school didn't have any special ed students or classrooms or anything.
No, not at all. They were definitely secluded in a lot of areas, especially like as far as education.
Wow, Haley, it seems like the amount of money you have has a huge effect on where you go to school.
You're right, Peter. Now to our education specialists, Abby and Mackenzie.
Thanks, Haley and Peter. From our interviews, it is clear that most of their schools were predominantly one race. Although Brown v. Board paved the way to desegregate schools, to this day schools remain more segregated than ever. There was a recent study done by the NCES showing the amount of students enrolled in elementary and secondary schools by race. This study shows that there is a vast difference between white students and minority students in school enrollment. Wow, it is crazy that schools aren't as equal as we thought. Seems like there's a lot of room to improve, Abby. Why do you think schools remain this way? Peter and Haley have the answer. Back to you guys.
Thanks for the great question, guys. We have the solution.
Students are sent to schools based on where they live.
So you're saying this is a socioeconomic issue?
Yep. Lower SES tend to have less qualified teachers, which leads to students not being taught as well as high SES areas.
So does this lead to lower performance from students?
Most definitely. There will be less opportunities and the cycle will just continue on.
Since students are born into this status, is it an example of social reproduction?
What's social reproduction, Peter?
Social reproduction means that students are granted opportunities and sent to schools based on the background they are born into.
Interesting you say that. According to Bill Jenkins from Scientific Learning, only 36% of low SES parents read to their kindergartners, compared to 62% in the highest SES students.
Many of these low SES students can only afford to live in the city rather than the suburbs, which is why schools remain racially segregated to this day.
That's what Abby and Mackenzie said.
It is, and it's sad because this isn't the only segregation based on ascribed characteristics in schools.
You're right. Students are also separated based on their abilities and disabilities.
Now to our special education specialists, Emily and Sydney, for more.
All right. Thanks, Peter and Haley. Another area in which inclusion is important is in special education.
According to NCES, only about 61% of all students with disabilities are heavily included in classrooms.
That sounds like a high percentage, but when compared to the millions of students in these programs, we have a long way to go.
In our concept map, we expressed that many schools still seclude students into special education classrooms. Most private schools don't even supply special education programs.
There are many issues with these classrooms. For example, they make students feel left out and unintelligent. Most of these classrooms are in a school's corner, basement, or closet. Also, students are all taught the exact same way at a slow pace, even though their disabilities are all very different.
Some benefits to inclusion are that it creates classroom diversity, requires teachers to teach in many different ways. Inclusion gives all students an opportunity to interact, build social skills, and promote positive behavior.
Thanks, Sydney. We will touch upon how to fully include students in a bit. Back to you guys.
Thanks for the great input, guys.
We have come up with some possible solutions on how to end the racial divide caused by socioeconomic status and location. What if districts were relocated to areas in the middle of different SES backgrounds?
Great idea. That would create a much more diverse student body.
Students should also be able to test into schools so their education is based on meritocracy rather than social reproduction. There are some public schools currently like this, such as Bergen Academies in New Jersey. These academies have great results. There should be more schools like this across the country to help end the racial issue caused by SES.
To help lower SES inequality, students should be sent home with educational content that their parents can help with. This will help to create a strong parent-student bond. This will ensure that all students have an equal opportunity, which one day will end the SES issue and include all students.
Awesome solution. I wonder what solutions Emily and Sydney have. Back to them.
Thanks, Haley, Abby, and Mackenzie.
Some ways we can fully include students with disabilities are to supply qualified staff and resources to help create a consistent routine that is flexible to all students' needs in a general education classroom in all schools.
With these steps, we will one day be able to include students of all ability levels.
That's all for us. Back to you guys.
Thanks for tuning in.
Catch us next time when we go in depth on No Child Left Behind.
And that's the end of our segment on
Education Nation.